The first of the quarter-finals in the Dominic's Bit Expert Electrical Senior Football Championship is the Shelmaliers against the Starlights. The Shelmaliers are the strong favourites for the championship, and Colm, you played them in the very early stages of the championship. What did you make of their challenge that day?
It was tough going. We got within 2 points of them at one stage, and we just felt we had more in us, but they were experienced, strong runners up the middle. Glenn, and then you had Browne in full forward, winning ball, spraying it off, and I think they're only starting to get going at that stage. Towards the end of the championship, they're top scorers in our group, so they just, that experience showed against us, and I think it'll show in the next round as well in the quarter final.
And they managed to get a lot of goals that day, but they also managed to get a few goals in the other rounds, which helped them through. But they haven't been putting up major points tallies in some other games.
No, I think the way they play, they build a nice lead and then they just hold the ball excellently well. It's hard to get the ball back off them once they have it. Just play keep ball. But I think knockout rounds, you need to just keep the scoreboard taking over. Some teams nearly caught them in some rounds, but they just need to keep it and keep the scoreboard ticking, and it should see them through, I'd say.
And Andy, he played the Starlights in the first round and had a comfortable victory. Perhaps maybe you were surprised at how poor the Starlights were on the day. He played quite well, obviously, but how would you make of the Starlights challenge at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose that day they weren't firing at all. I think we went in 4-5 up at half time and we won it in the end by 10. They just didn't seem really interested at the time. I remember we get the stats at half time, we had far more turnovers than them, and just seemed like we were outworking them. But I know they were missing Alan Tobin, and obviously a player essential to their game plan. Dara Pepper played very well that day. I remember he got on a lot of ball and got a nice few scores. But they've definitely seemed to got grips together now, and I don't think they're going to beat the Shells, but I think they will put it up to them.
And what are your thoughts on the Shells? You obviously played them in the league final, and I'm sure you've seen them a couple of times since.
Yeah, I think the Shells are a team to beat. Without a doubt, it's all over the field. It's hard to know really how to go about setting up against the Shells, because they've Owen O'Gara inside with Brian Malone, and if you kind of target taking them out of the game, you have the likes of Oni Nolan, Glenn Malone, Simon Donoghue, Sean Kane Carroll, all really good ball carriers. So they've strength in numbers all over the field. I know a couple of weeks ago Castletown went very defensively against them and they only lost by 2 points. So perhaps maybe the Starlights might look at bringing a couple of men back. But I think the Shells are just going to have too much firepower one way or the other, and I couldn't see the Starlights really put them to the sword.
And Colm, I was trying to rack my brains earlier. I can't even remember the last time the Sarsfields actually played the Starlights, but I'm sure you've seen them plenty over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've county champions in the last couple of years, so they bring that experience to it as well. We've played them in league a couple of times over the years, but we haven't had them in championship in I don't know how many years at this stage. But they've again, like Alan Tobin coming back is a huge addition as well to the team. And again, it's knockout football. Anything can happen on the day. We've seen results down through the years that you're kind of looking at it thinking, how did that happen? But it just seems the experience in the Shells team from getting that run in Leinster and everything as well, they just have that firepower and it's hard to look past them.
So I think I already know which way you might go on these games, judging by some of the comments so far, but what will be your prediction for the game, Andy?
I'd say Shells will comfortably win 7-8 points.
Okay, so a fairly strong indication for the Shells there.
Yeah, I'd go in with Andy on that one as well, and 7-8 points, could be 1 point game. It's just knockout football, it's just hard to predict,
Yeah, I think this year reminds me a little bit of the Starlights winning in 2017. They lost their first couple of rounds that year and they really had the backs to the wall to qualify, and they went on to win the championship, but I just don't think they have the spark about them that they need to win the championship this year. I expect the Shelmaliers to win this game. I don't like agreeing with everyone on the panel, but it's going to be 3-0 on the panel here for the Shelmaliers in the first quarter final.